Before we get started with this week's episode of the Scenic View podcast, we want to take a moment to recognize Labor Day and the meaning it holds in our country's history. It is a day to honor the contributions of hardworking people who keep our communities and our state running strong. Here at Scenic, we're proud to represent the dedicated state employees of North Carolina as well as the retirees whose commitment and service built the foundation we stand on today. This Labor Day, we celebrate you and we thank you for all that you do.
Hello, friends, and welcome to another edition of the Scenic View podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Owens, Communications Director here at Scenic. With me, as always, is Executive Director Artis Watkins, Suzanne Beasley, the Director of Government Relations, and Sam Klein, our podcast producer.
These people that I work with. You're fine. You're fine.
You almost made it
people,
through.
Yeah.
They know.
But they know us.
Yeah.
It's Sam, y'all.
Well, we have an awesome show today. We have a distinguished guest, the State Auditor of North Carolina, coming to join us. So let's just dive right into it. Okay, well, we do have a busy week ahead of us next week. The Scenic Convention starts. Yesterday, we did our packing day, which is, I asked Lynn, because she's been here forever, how long have we been doing packing day? And she said at least her whole time. So that's like 31 years. 31 years. So she said probably 40 years. So packing day is when we pack up all of our bags and programs and things that we'll use for convention.
Things we'll pass out to the delegates.
800 bags worth.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. And it's kind of a camaraderie thing for us.
It is. I don't hate packing day.
It was fun because even Brenda made a little comment whenever she realized I was right next to her. She was like, oh, she moves so fast. Like, I got to speed up. And I'm like, it's like a race.
Yeah.
Just
I
make
I
it
think
fun.
that's how we get
get
through it.
competitive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's popular to say, oh, here comes packing day. Oh, it's going to be terrible. But I think everybody likes it.
Yeah, we
still have a
play
good
some
time.
music,
some
try and
music
keep it
and-
upbeat.
So if you're a delegate to the Scenic Convention, we'll see you in a few days, and we've got your bags packed. If you're not, get involved at your district
Yeah.
and be a delegate next year.
Yeah, we want to see you at the convention. The convention is awesome, and your programs were packed with love. We don't have a lot of budget talk to get into this week. Anything at all?
Well, session convened on Tuesday. It was a skeletal session, so the entire General Assembly did not convene. It's not looking likely that we're going to have a budget.
I did see a story that the Democrats held a press conference yesterday to urge Republicans to settle a budget.
Yeah, and I did run into a couple of Democrats while I was trolling the building for anything on Tuesday, and that I understood was, they were trying to push some things along as much as they can.
I don't think it's looking good.
It's not. It's not.
What?
And, it's huge. It's huge to state employees who are going to see their health care go up, and it's huge to retirees. So,
Well, and what I'm hearing is that it's the tax package. One chamber's not moving on it, and if they refuse to move on that, then they can't do anything else. So here we are.
But isn't this year different than, say, last year, where this is like a long session, right? So this is the first, it seems like there is no budget, right? I mean, right now.
No, I mean, so far, the mini budget is all we have out there. We don't have a budget, but there are things they're going to have to handle.
Yeah.
You can do it, though, in a series of mini budgets.
Okay.
A mini budget with money for our folks would be something at this point.
You look skeptical about
I do,
that,
because I don't, a lot of things haven't been addressed. What you're going to do with the continuing tax reductions is number one. You have to figure that out. Number two, are you still going to spend, almost $700 million on the opportunity scholarships? If you are, that money's off the table. What are you going to do about Medicaid that got expanded and now you're not going to get those
got to fill that
dollars
hole,
back from the federal government? That is that's at least equal, I think, to what the opportunity scholarships. After that, and Hurricane Helene relief, you're trying to do that at the same time as all of this. So I'm skeptical of how the math would work. I think there's an awful lot of things people want to do, but it's not all possible under the current scenario. And our job as lobbyists is to point out that it might be nice to be able to give somebody things like opportunity scholarships or tax cuts, but you've got a workforce that you need to address if you want to keep decent people working for decent North Carolinians. You've got to you got to take care of your business.
Yeah.
And if any other business you run, if you don't take care of the employees, your business is going to suffer. you're not going to be as high quality as you could be.
What is that old
State is no
saying?
different.
Take care of your employees and they'll take care of you.
The business, yeah.
And the customers will suffer. Also, then the
100%.
the customers for the state are the taxpayers.
That's right.
So,
yeah.
Well, we spoke a little bit about this in the interview with Dave Bullock, which we recorded before. But the big news today from the state treasurer's office is that he uncovered $170 million in unallocated funds. Now, that's confusing to everyone. Like, where do you find $170 million? I'm sure it's not as simple as it seems.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think Auditor Bullock addresses it briefly when we interview him, but apparently Treasurer Briner's staff, and I don't know the details of it, I'm assuming he tasked them with, among other things, check everything out and make sure it looks good because we're keepers of the public purse, as Dale Folwell used to say. But at any rate, the Treasurer's office found $170 million that had not been expended. So you can use it for limited purposes. You can't just put it anywhere. But there are certain programs that have been legislatively approved you can use it on. You can use it to plug certain proscribed holes.
Couldn't you kind of launder that? Like you could use it.
Oh dear!
Follow me
must
here.
have watched too much Sopranos or something. Yeah.
No, but like you could use that money to pay off one thing and use the money allocated for that in a different place. No, is that not a thing? Am I being illegal here?
Well, I mean, when they give you that money to be spent here,
I know what you're saying because when I read the article, the first thing I thought was it'll be interesting to see where that money actually goes, and I'm sure that is a question some people will ask. I'm sure journalists will ask as we move along through the process. Hey, whatever happened to that $170 million? Because that's not anything to sneeze at. But it's great that they found it. That's yay, state employees.
Yeah.
And thank you, Treasurer Briner. And Auditor Bullock seemed pretty excited about it because as he is about to talk to us in the interview about, his goal is to try to find anywhere where there's not just waste or fraud or bad things, but also where there's good things, where we didn't necessarily spend everything. Yeah. So we have a better idea. Are we overfunding some things while we're choking out others?
Yeah, and I guess I only bring that up because last week's episode was about premium increases, and I could see even I first thought this, like, well, they found $170 million the week after they raised premiums.
The comments on Facebook, I didn't look at the other platforms yet, but the comments on Facebook, the very first one, was like, okay, well, can you apply this to the premium increases then?
And that's probably not something that can happen,
no.
right?
Yeah.
I will say, if this tells you guys how literal my brain takes things. When I first read it, I was thinking, how do you hide $170 million or just lose $170 million? Picturing $170 million cash
like
just somehow in a storage closet that went missing.
$170 million never went away. It just didn't get spent. So
it's just lingering.
That's not a bad thing.
Have you seen Breaking Bad, Sam?
But, now they're going to figure out where they put it.
You need to watch that. But I was just thinking of Huel laying on the big pile of money.
See, I was just picturing someone opening a storage closet and just seeing stacks of money. Like, where did this come from?
Well, I'll tell you what, since we all just learned about this today, Suzanne and I will take a very good look at this and see if there's any way to apply that towards raises.
Yeah.
I wish I could find $170 in my account.
It's never a bad thing to ask.
Because it's skiff.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well,
we're going to look at it anyway.
So let's just go right to the state auditor's interview, and then we'll come back and have a little Gen Z moment and wrap up. Okay, we have a special guest in the podcast studio today. We are welcoming State Auditor Dave Bullock to the show. Welcome, Auditor Bullock.
Well, I'm glad to be here. It's a really nice space, actually. Particularly for a podcast.
Sam did it by herself.
Wow.
Did really well.
Very impressive.
Thank you.
So a lot of our members may not be as familiar with you, as I know you just took office last year. So we want to give you a chance first to kind of introduce yourself to them and just tell us a little bit about Dave Bullock.
Great. Well, yeah, and I am Dave Bullock. I'm honored to be the 21st state auditor of the state of North Carolina. I am originally I was born in Lincolnton, North Carolina. I've lived all over North Carolina.
What's that?
Yeah, I'm born in Lincolnton. My father was in radio and television, and so we moved around quite a bit. I spent time in Eden. I spent time in Greensboro. My formative years, junior high, which they had that. I'm 57 when I was coming along. Junior high and high school in Durham.
Okay.
and then went to UNC Chapel Hill for undergraduate.
I knew I liked you.
Yeah.
See, that's why I commented on your shoe.
I'm a Tar Heel, and we graduated there with a degree in journalism. And so I was a reporter and worked various different things and found my way to law school, where I got a law degree and an MBA degree from Campbell University, and went to work as a prosecutor. So I've been an assistant district attorney, prosecuting traffic cases and all the way up to murder cases in Cumberland County. Left, went to private practice. Sort of got me, I did a lot of community service, worked, served my church, raised our family in large respects in Fayetteville over the last 26, 27 years, 4 children, 26, 24, 20, and 15. And they were all born in Fayetteville. Got 2 that are off the family payroll. So they're make their way. They've made their way in the world, and, got into sort of broader public service when I was asked to serve on the board of trustees at UNC Chapel Hill, and was elected chair of that board. And from there, because of the work that we were able to do with the administration there at UNC Chapel Hill on budget reform, and I tell the story about when asked, well, why in the world would you want to be the state auditor, and how did that come about? And it really came about through that work on the budget reform at UNC Chapel Hill. Was all started in orientation when the provost, who's the chief academic officer, was telling me and some other new members of the board about the budget at Carolina and the fact that there were 16 separate budgets actually running the university. They were run on 16 separate budgets, not 16 parts to a budget, but 16 separate siloed budgets, $4.4 billion a year. And I thought that was not efficient. I thought it wasn't really the right approach. And I also was concerned that it was the chief academic officer telling us about this and not a CFO, a chief financial officer. So long and short, we as a board really pushed and were able to work with both the legislators and our board of governors to change the way the budgeting was done at UNC Chapel Hill and ultimately across the UNC system. We consolidated to one single budget, a uniform all funds budget. That's now the standard across the university system, and it started at UNC Chapel Hill. In our process, we discovered a $100 million structural deficit, and that required some belt tightening at the university level. We were able to do that in a short period of time and get to a zero-based budget and really good fiscal management through an all-funds budget and hiring a CFO to manage the budgetary functions of the university. And rating agencies, Standard & Poor's, for example, in the case of Carolina, rates universities and institutions and states for their creditworthiness. And Standard & Poor's had rated UNC Chapel Hill after our budget reform. And there was a footnote in the bottom of that rating that actually made note of the new budget process at Carolina and the fact that our new budgeting process gave them increased confidence on the financial stability and position of the university. And so it was that sort of kind of nerdy footnote that really got me interested in running for state auditor, because I saw the work that you could do to really move things forward and make things better through work and decisions on sort of areas that relate to finance. And so I hope that tells you a little bit about me. And
that's great.
Some of that is brand new information to me, so that it does kind of explain some of the interest you had in the job. And I'm sitting here listening to you thinking, I'm also surprised you didn't run for General Assembly, because I think revamping budget processes does seem like it would start there. And I can fully see you enjoying the entire appropriations process. But apparently not, huh?
Does anybody enjoy the appropriation process in the General Assembly?
Yes, the nerdy financial people like you're talking about. Yes, some people love it.
Yeah, and I know
Thank
legislators.
Goodness. I mean, I would not love sitting down figuring it out, but I'm glad there are people that do.
I know legislators that enjoy it. So, yeah, I guess that could have been a consideration. I really thought there was an opportunity also with the state auditor's office to reshape the focus of the office, not to give away what the auditor's office has traditionally been known for, which is really interagency work to make agencies accountable and to assist agencies in better financial management, but also enhance the role of the auditor to be more effective and more relevant to everyday North Carolinians. And that has been the mission that I've tried to bring to the office, is to continue the traditions, particularly as it relates to financial auditing across the state of North Carolina, from the state auditor and the professional team that we have in the office, but to expand the role to be relevant to everyday North Carolinians. How can we as a state auditor do things in the realm of waste, fraud, abuse, and accountability, efficiency work that really affects average North Carolinians? Is there a way that the auditor's office can do that? And I believe we've hit on at least one way, and that was our audit with the Division of Motor Vehicles.
Oh, yeah. That everybody wants to know what's going on with DMV for sure. And I think a lot of North Carolinians hear state auditor and they think it means they're getting audited by the state with reference to their taxes.
Yeah, I get that a lot.
Yeah,
or I do.
I would think that would be a very scary sounding person to a lot of people.
It's scary. We don't want it to be scary, but we don't audit people's individual tax returns. That's for the IRS and the Department of Revenue. We are actually working on behalf of the taxpayer and looking across state agencies, organizations, and institutions at how taxpayer dollars and public funds are spent, and asking the question. And the approach that we've tried to take since the first of the year is really asking the question, what is the return on taxpayer dollars for their investment in state government?
Right.
And I think that's the right approach, because that doesn't presume that we're going in, number one, and looking for stuff necessarily that's wrong, that we're looking for.
Working.
Right. We have, I think you can expect, again, we don't like to release the results of audits ahead of time, but I think you will see audits in the coming weeks that talk about positive things that are happening across state government, places where things are working really well, for example.
Good.
So I think you'll see that. In fact, I'm sure you will. And there'll be some other audits that sort of point out some deficiencies and things where we can do things better as a state. The goal really is to be balanced and have an approach to ask that tough question. What's the return on investment?
Mm-hmm.
What are we getting for our money? And then are we being as efficient and effective as we can be in certain areas?
In our state workforce, they have those concerns too, because those folks know if there's money being wasted somewhere else.
They know where the body's
Yeah,
at.
and it's less money on the table to do anything to benefit them. So this may be a good moment just to touch on the DAVE Act.
Yeah.
So you've been tasked with checking out all the agencies across North Carolina and, deciding if there are places that need some attention or if they're doing good things, like you just said. Part of that language in legislation talked about cutting employees. So obviously that, rose is a red flag for all our folks when you start talking about cutting state employees. So can you give us some kind of idea of maybe going in with the things that you're going to do under the DAVE Act? What would that look like? And what would you be looking at if an agency did need cuts? We don't think anybody needs cuts with the vacancy crisis, but if you determine that, how would that look?
Yeah. So the DAVE Act, of course, is sort of an affectionate name, I guess, if you're me.
It worked out nicely.
If you're me, it is.
The
But
acronym worked.
it
The good thing
creates.
your name wasn't any longer.
Yeah.
Some things work out occasionally, right? But it creates the division of accountability, value, and efficiency in our office. It really, if you go in and sort of analyze the legislation, it doesn't create any additional authorities
Right.
of the office. What it does is it sort of puts us on a defined mission and gives us resources to accomplish that mission. And if you look at the workforce within the state auditor's office, and again, in terms of state employees and workforce, we've added 45 members to the state workforce, and we're in the process of doing that through the DAVE Act. And there will be state employees. We do use contracted services in certain instances, but for the work that we're going to try to do that we're going to accomplish under the DAVE Act, we're going to use state workforce, right? Employees that we're bringing on board at the auditor's office. So that's a good thing. We're actually adding that. And my commitment is to bring value to that ad. So we're gonna monitor ourselves and create some really strong metrics on what type of results we get. But in terms of what to expect, when we've started the DAVE Act, and we started with informational requests across all state agencies and asking them for information on their workforce. How many members of their teams do they have? How many openings do they have? What does that look like? What is their agency's mission? And we've got access to larger data sets across state government through the Office of State Human Resources, through the Office of Budget Management, and through Comptroller's Office. So we're going to take all of that data as well and sift that data. And we're going to use modern computer engineering and data analytics to take a look at that, because I want to stop here and say, my commitment has been to be data-driven on these approaches. And if you use the data and actually base it on objective data, and objective data is also not just numbers, right? Which is why we've reached out to every agency individually and not just taken raw numbers from large data sets. We've reached out to individual agencies across state government and asked them specifically about their workforce and the leadership of those agencies about their mission, because numbers by themselves don't tell the story. Right. Of what we're doing. And those numbers need to be put into context. And that's really important for us to be able to put numbers into context. An example is our DMV audit. And I'll harp on that because I'm really proud of the work that we've done so far. There's more work to be done on our DMV auditing, but I think we've shown a light on an issue of where state government, and I said this in the release of that audit, that it's an opportunity for state government to do something right. And we recommended additional resources. We recommended additional state employees to work at the Division of Motor Vehicles. We also advocated for some increased efforts to try to fill vacancies and some increased flexibility at the DMV in particular for them to be able to fill those vacancies. And I think that's really important because, and as part of that, in terms of a lot of our recommendations, we actually took the input of people, surprise, surprise, that actually do the work.
Right.
We fanned out across the state and actually asked licensed examiners, hey, how can you better serve
Got the real
people?
deal.
Right. And we got a lot of good information on that. Our team was really gratified with the information that they got and the suggestions. Surprise, surprise, people who do it every day have good ideas.
Yes, they do.
Right.
Well,
and I say that
kind of the next question
with sarcasm because I'm not surprised at all that people who do the job every day have good ideas.
Well, we talked to you about this when we had a private meeting with you a few weeks ago, which we're so appreciative of, and we learned a lot that day. And that's why we wanted to have you on so people can hear from you and learn more about what the auditor does, especially if they're state employees and wonder, really, what is this all going to mean for me? But with regard to the DMV audit, one of the things we said is, the employees were going down there saying these things at the legislature for a very long time, when we would have our little lobby days. And they've been telling multiple folks who were in charge over there these things. I'm glad that they got to tell their story to you and your team as well. But, do you think this will stick in terms of they've gotten a response in terms of some jobs from your audit? Obviously not the amount we've heard for years that we needed to keep up with this growth of population. Do you think we're going to be able to keep that trajectory in DMV and then apply it to other agencies where we have not kept up with the population in terms of our staffing?
Well, I think that's a multi-pronged question, really, if you unpack it. And with DMV, the real question again is how can we most effectively serve people across the state of North Carolina in an efficient, effective manner? Having people that are there available to serve one-on-one individuals because of the requirements. And it's really important. I mean, an ID today is really important since 9/11, and the fact that we have these real IDs and that we as a state actually collect this data on behalf of the federal government that uses it for security purposes on airlines, et cetera. It's really important that we get that information correctly, and that we do serve not only the individual in North Carolina, but serve the greater public by being a trustworthy source of data when it comes to the driver's license database. So that's really important. But we're going to have to, as a state, do a couple of things. One, we're going to have to, again, I'll go back to it, and I hate that I sound like a broken record, but we're going to have to ask, number one, what kind of return on investment are we getting? And when I say return on investment, we got to say, okay, is this a program that is necessary to move the state of North Carolina forward, either with social, emotional, human value that may not be easily calculated in economic terms, right? Because there are certain things that the state government does that you cannot necessarily equate to an economic value.
It's quality of life, but not
right.
necessarily.
It's a quality of life issue. It doesn't always make you number one in business, right? For example. And then there's those that do make you number one in business, right? And number one in business helps, and we're very proud to be number one in business because that means there are jobs for our citizens, right? And it also makes North Carolina an attractive place for people to move in. I think the number is about 350 people a day that move into the state of North Carolina. So we do have tremendous growth. Florida, Texas, and North Carolina, probably your top three states. In fact, I think they are the top three states for growth. Some of it is our birth rate is high, but a lot of it is folks wanting to move here to North Carolina because of, as you say, the quality of life that we have here in our state, not just geographically, but our state services and what we offer people. We're going to have to leverage technology. I mean, it's just going to be a fact of life. Mm-hmm. And I'll go back to the DMV, for example. I mean, the entire DMV is currently running as we speak on a skeleton that was built decades ago, and it has not been
it's a
updated.
Common refrain in state government.
It is. In fact, I've had conversations with technology folks across the state, and we're actually looking at that in our office as something that we can assist with in terms of cataloging those legacy systems. And let's really get to the bottom of what we got and get a plan for modernization, because it's not going to be something that's going to happen overnight.
Right.
And we need input from people who actually are like the license examiner, people that are on the front lines, that are delivering services directly to people of North Carolina. We need to get their input. I would say, for better, for worse, I mean, the recent rollout of the Odyssey system in the courts has not been as smooth as maybe it could have been. And I don't think the current leadership of the AOC did not start that ball rolling, but that ball got rolling and that Odyssey system got rolling, and someone who's worked in the court system, I don't know how many assistant district attorneys or clerks of court or judges who actually work in the courtroom were ever consulted on what was needed.
I'd be shocked if they were.
Right. And that's an issue. So the technology implementation, particularly when it relates to serving the public from a government function, really needs to start with the people that use it every day, and their input is key. We're going to be implementing new auditing software in our office, and we took a pretty simple approach. We got into office and found that there was already the beginnings of an RFP on the street for new auditing software, and I pulled it. I just pulled it back and reissued it after we went to the auditor ones.
Gotcha.
And asked them, number one, because I had seen this happen. Because I asked them, anybody ask you about this? They said, well, no, not really. I said, so we needed to do that. We needed to really ask our own folks what they needed and what would make their job easier. I'll give you an example of something that we've done. I surveyed some of our folks and said, is there something that would make your life better in terms of not only your quality of work, your quality of life, the margin of time in completing your job day to day? And there was a computer program that they said, yeah, this would be great. The big 5 accounting firms use it and they do auditing and it'd be great. I said, well, why don't we have it? Well, it costs a lot of money. found out about what it costs. And honestly, I can't remember the exact price, but it wasn't life-changing amount of money. And I said, well, okay. And they said, well, you're a pretty conservative guy. I said, well, yeah, just because you're conservative doesn't mean that you're not willing to invest money to get a return.
Right, spend money to get some productivity.
I think it went something like this. Well, it costs an arm and a leg. And my response was, what's an arm and a leg worth to you, right?
Right.
And so we've implemented some of that software and actually had a strategic planning retreat and audit planning retreat it was a day-long, sort of meeting with our audit team.
Mm-hmm.
And they reported back to me that, in their first usage of this particular computer product that uses functions that are AI related.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a chat GPT, not an outside sort of thing. It's an internal thing. It uses AI components, and 2 days worth of work that an auditor would spend on a particular project has now been condensed in our office to about 2 hours.
Oh, wow.
And so that type of leverage of technology, it doesn't displace people. What it does is, for us, it gives our team members the ability to now do their job more effectively because they're not worried about routine tasks.
Right.
They're worried about the analysis, and it also increases the volume of production that we're able to do.
And the modernization of technology in state government is a chronic issue. I mean, just as it would be in nonprofits or anywhere where resources are not infinite. And so it seems like as we talk to members, depending on where they work in state government, it's the have or have nots in terms of the technology. It really depends where you are. So I would assume y'all will find a lot of that where we could spend a little more money but increase productivity volumes. And then as far as the people, I know you want to use the data to determine where you go with Dave Act. One of the pieces of data that is the most striking is the vacancy rate across state government. And then in particular agencies, I know with prisons, we've heard it a lot, forever, not just right now, but this administration, with going back forever, that prisons report vacancies not based on the total amount of positions they've got filled, but in other words, if I'm out on workers' comp, I'm still counted, even though I can't go be in that prison. So how would you deal with those kind of issues that may not be on their face visible to you as data, but if you got to talking to people, you'd find out, the numbers are actually reported somewhat differently than they are?
Well, I mean, I think you've hit on the rationale that I sort of explained as to why we're reaching out to individual agencies to contextualize numbers. And I think you've hit, Artis, exactly of what I mean by contextualizing those numbers and putting it into context. That's really important. Because also you have situations where you might have vacancy rates and either the facility or the part of an agency, when you use corrections, for example, might have a facility in corrections where the numbers necessary are either higher or lower than what the initial full-time employee allocation for that particular facility are.
Sure.
What we're hoping for as part of this is to also analyze with the management of individual prisons, for example, and ask that question, how many full-time employees do you really need to be most effective and most efficient? Right. And then the question becomes, what is the pay scale? Because that is an issue, I think, that we all struggle with in state government and in private industry too. But what's a proper pay scale, right? Well, how do we properly pay people? And, I think I'll give Secretary Stacey Meyer credit. She's working, I believe, I've met with her several times, and I know other members of the Council of State and agency heads have met with her about efforts to modernize and update and really find flexibility within the current Personnel Act. And we've worked with her on some issues in our own office that relate to the Personnel Act and how we can modernize it and be more flexible. I really just think there's going to have to be an effort to look at more flexibility. I know I'm kind of repeating myself, but it goes to what I think would really help the commissioner at the DMV. Yeah, not only did he now get an additional 40 examiners, but he had 159 openings.
Right.
And, you can ask yourself the question, well, we're doing a certain level of work, but there's 159 openings. If we take those, maybe we pare back the number of positions and then look at allocation of those dollars in a different way, right?
You pay competitively, you mean?
You can pay competitively. You can also look at geographic pay scales. I know that's a very controversial topic, not just in state government, but probably in a lot of different industries. But, let's face facts. It costs more to live in Mecklenburg County than it does in rural eastern North Carolina.
Well, I mean, we've talked.
Not that rural eastern North Carolina is a bad place to live. That's where I'm from. I love eastern North Carolina, but there are
they
differences.
Wouldn't probably mind being called more affordable either.
But there's differences in
but there are
affordability.
You dealt with that in the university system as well.
Good.
You've got some of our universities where folks say they just can't. If they're in a vacation area, they just can't afford to live within a reasonable drive of the university where they work. So, yeah, that's a big issue too.
Yeah, my wife served for 8 years on the board of trustees at Western Carolina, so I know exactly what you're talking about. Western Carolina has a tremendous issue with housing for faculty. A lot of faculty live in the Asheville area or in the suburbs of Asheville, and they commute in 45 minutes to an hour every day because there's just no place to live.
Right. And the weather makes the commute hard. But
it does.
There's no straight line.
Right.
You're out west.
Well, while we have you, I don't want to miss the opportunity to ask you. So we've covered your DMV audit, and then we've covered some of the Dave Act stuff and how state employees could be affected by your work and how they can be hopefully helpful to y'all in doing your work. But I also would be remiss if I didn't ask you about the things I asked you about before in your office that we've heard so much from folks over time about contracts the state has where employees see these contracts the state has with private business. And we've had reports to us from things they've seen in these contracts that are sometimes very outrageous. I don't know. I haven't been in these contracts, and nobody in the public can get in these contracts, but you'll be able to get in these contracts. Is that part of the plan for Dave Act work?
Yeah, and that's part of the plan generally on accountability.
Okay.
And one of the broader issues across state government, and I think it relates directly to the contracts, is the metrics and what private industry calls KPIs, key performance indicators, and the lack of those in state contracts. I think it's really important. And people who contract with the state and are running successful businesses that are giving value to state government by way of contracting don't have a problem generally, at least in the conversations that I've had over the last 8 months in office, don't seem to have as a problem with meeting metrics or having metrics and key performance indicators in contracts. For whatever reason, many of our contracts across state government lack metrics. Metrics are important. We got to measure the success. Again, it goes back to my broken record theme of return on investment. How do we know we're getting a return on investment if we're not measuring something? So there are areas where particularly austerity in contracts should be encouraged and important. There's also areas where we can encourage best practices.
Yeah.
For example, pretty large contract, and I'm just familiar with this contract in Pender County, new bridge that went in Surf City over to Topsail Island.
They're a tricky one to build.
Well, it was a tricky bridge to build, but there was an incentive plan in that bridge to finish that bridge early. And there was a bonus in that contract to finish that bridge early. And that contractor finished that bridge early and earned a fairly substantial, I believe it was a 7-figure bonus to finish
it. Got the people on the road.
But they got it done quick. There is an example of sort of a metric, an incentive metric that's put into place in a contract to get something done quicker. So I think we need to focus on that, what helps things move more efficient, quicker. Also, where are we spending money that we probably shouldn't be spending money? To your point, in anecdotal stories that I've heard as well about certain benefits in contracts that are seen kind of, why is that in there? Right. And without there being a return on the investment, right? So anything that's in a contract with a contractor, and again, I've entered into contracts with folks and, we're not perfect. We have mixed results. Sometimes I don't quite get the result that I was hoping for, and I'm learning that over the first 8 months. So you have to be careful in whatever part of state government that you operate to make sure that you're holding contractors' feet to the fire to get things done.
I think
But
employees just want to know that that's also, that you're not
it's
just
very important to look at state at contracts as well.
because
And
people think government efficiency is honing in simply on state workers and expecting that to be when that's not even the largest part of what's spent and done.
there's a lot of value that private industry can bring to state government through well-drafted and really well-thought-out contractual relationships. I see that as a huge value. But we've already reported on some contracting. For example, there's a contract whose total value is about $1.5 billion with information systems over at DHHS. And that's a contract where I think DHHS is working really hard to sort of hone in on some metrics and looking at what they're getting in return for that particular contract. And from what I understand, they've got a good working relationship to try to hone in and make that work even better, particularly as they move into a new facility here at the fall of 25.
Well, what about I've spoken to everyone that'll listen for I don't know how many years about the secret contracts with the health plan and with investment managers in our retirement system. It's a $120 billion retirement system with contracts that we can't see with our investment managers. So, and it's 6% of the state employee salary going in to fund it every month. When there have been times in our working career at Scenic where the state put in nothing, but the employees did have to keep putting in 6% every month. There was times some of those funds were escrowed and we had to take it to the Supreme Court to get that fixed. So people want to know that they're getting a good deal. And I think there is a lot of feeling of positivity about Treasurer Briner really having very solid intentions to bring those health plan costs down and he's very obviously his track record on investing is great. But in terms of the transparency, the fact that these are huge, the biggest public contracts we have, I think, would be health plan and retirement system, almost undoubtedly.
Yeah. I mean, I think you raised some really valid points with respect to, particularly on the health plan and the contractual rates that our third-party payer is negotiating with providers.
Right.
And that is a universal issue of
Sure.
what in fact are insurance companies and the third-party administrator in our case, what are they paying? What rates are they paying? And why are they paying a certain rate? And is that rate higher in some instances than even what a private insurance plan may be paying? And does that inadvertently affect the validity and the stability of the state health plan and the fund?
Yeah, and raise costs for all North Carolinians.
Right. So those are legitimate concerns. I will say this, I know Treasurer Briner really well, and we've worked really well together as a team. As of the recording of this, for example, he just announced the discovery of $170 million in is really SCIF money that was has already been allocated.
So
and
people won't know what you mean when you say SCIF money.
Well, it's money that's been allocated to a capital project already and just hasn't been spent, or maybe the project, believe it or not, came in under budget and that money was not actually spent. So I think
happen.
Yeah, it can and it does, and I think that shows his hard work and intention of getting his team up to speed over at the treasurer's office to really work on behalf of taxpayers. He went and got legislation changed to give away authority and power on his own behalf. I mean, no longer is North Carolina a state that has a single trustee. There's going to be 5 trustees of the state retirement fund. And so that, I think, is a step toward more transparency, because you're going to have people that are on a board. And I get what you're saying, but there are areas that we need to take a look at in terms of transparency, and that's something I've talked to the treasurer about. And so best I can tell you is a work in progress and more to come on that.
Fair enough. We'd love to hear more at a later time when y'all have more time. It's a lot to digest. I mean, seriously, these are huge issues with huge amounts of money. So it's got to be a little overwhelming. I know you're not overwhelmed, and I know you've got full confidence in your staff, which you've expressed a lot, which is awesome. But it is daunting, the sheer amount of stuff that's
we've
out
got
there.
and we've got a great staff. I mean, I was really blown away by the the civil servants that work in the auditor's office. And I told you before, and I've told other folks, I thought I'd have, 60 or so resignation letters on my desk, and that didn't happen. And, and I've said this, I think most folks that work in our office, and I can only speak to my experience, they don't really care what political party the boss is in. They just want somebody that's willing to show up for work every day, willing to support them in their efforts to serve the public, and is willing to put the office on a mission, all right, with a purpose. And we come in every day, and that's sort of our goal. Is we've been working through the strategies of our audit plans and how we're going to continue to build on some of the momentum that we've generated over the first part of my administration in the last 6-8 months. How are we going to build on that so that our team knows, when they show up on Monday morning, they know what they've got on their plate. They know what's ahead, and they know what the goal is. And
some structure makes everybody feel better.
Yeah, and it is daunting because, we're changing the culture at our office. Not that there was anything wrong with the culture before, but we just want to take it in a little bit different direction, modernize it, be more impactful to everyday North Carolinians, while still maintaining our reputation and the tradition of the auditor's office having positive effect on agencies and interagency activity. So that's been a change, and there is a lot to look at. This new technology that we're bringing online, though, it's going to really help us. Good. We're going to be able to. I am very confident that in the coming months and the next year or two, you're going to be able to see increased transparency in terms of the dollars, and we've done it in our own office. I put my budget online and I put our expenses online. So I don't feel like I can go ask other agencies to tell us how they're spending money without showing taxpayers how we're spending their money in the state auditor's office. So we put that out, and we're going to have more dashboards. We have our Helene spending dashboard, which is our first effort to really bring a watchdog approach to the state auditor's office that's front and center, and we're showing taxpayers how their money is being spent. That dashboard is getting more and more robust, and I know folks, they kind of joke around and call me Dashboard Dave, and that's okay. I can live with that. I can live with that as long as it's
love stuff like that. So
right.
I love it. So if you haven't been to the auditor's website, go to it.
Yeah, it's auditor.nc.gov. It is informative. And sign up for our newsletter, and you'll get alerts when we release a new audit, and you'll get our newsletter that comes out on a regular basis where we're talking about things that we're doing and want people to be informed about what the auditor's office is all about. And if you have tips, and we're wanting to, I think we're in the process of sort of expanding the typical tip line at the auditor's office. You can call the office, and that's fine. Go to the website to get the number. If I gave it to you, you wouldn't remember it. It's easier just to put in the Google machine, North Carolina Auditor, and it'll pop up. You can go on the web, or you can call in a tip, and not just about waste, fraud, and abuse, but how about some areas where if you're a state employee and you have some ideas about how your agency could run more efficiently, we'd like to hear about it. Because again, we can roll that into our DAVAC work, because we want to hear from people who work for the state and are serving the public. How can we be more efficient? Not just, I feel like we're wasting money here, or there's fraud there. And that's important, and we want that.
Some people are going to be reluctant to reach out no matter where it's from. They're going to feel like either their IP address can be traced to them, and there is an ingrained thing in public employees that is, you will get in trouble if you talk about stuff. I
get that. I worked at the insurance commissioner's office, and I was an assistant DA. So I've been a state employee 2 times before being elected state auditor. So I certainly understand that. But best I can tell you, even with all the great technology that we're putting to use in our audit work, we're not tracing IP addresses.
Yeah,
we don't have time to do that, nor do we have an interest in doing that. And we do get anonymous emails, and we do answer them. I've put together a constituent service team in our office.
Yeah.
And we're helping people too that may have frustrations in other areas of state government. It may not be in our lane, but we're endeavoring. If you contact our office, I've asked our constituent service team to do everything they can to help somebody that calls the state auditor's office with an issue. And we're doing that. And that's part of our service as well. But tips are important.
They are.
And they really are. And we respond to all of them. And we look into every one of them. You'd be
Y'all
amazed.
have heard it here. Call our
Call our
contact the
office and
auditor's
go to the auditor's office. Yes,
And
absolutely.
If at the end of the day you simply don't feel comfortable doing that, contact
Call us.
Scenic, and
Yeah.
we will let the auditor staff know. We're happy to try to
Absolutely.
be of help in any way we can. We think state employees, again, will be one of your most valuable assets in terms of doing the work of safeguarding the public's money.
We can't do it without them.
Yeah.
Number one, state government doesn't work without people willing to serve the people
Right.
and their fellow citizens. Let's just get that clear, right? And we know that. But we can't do our work at the state auditor's office to hold folks accountable without getting tips and information about things. And there's no guarantee that we're going to find anything as a result of every tip. And maybe there's nothing wrong here. Like maybe there is nothing to see here, and that's fine. We're glad we will report back what we find. But oftentimes there is, and it's really important that we have vigilant folks who are working day to day across state government to let us know what they see.
Well, thank you. It's such important work, and we really appreciate you taking the time to come talk to us and to our listeners about what it is y'all do. Hope you'll come back soon and let us know the latest and greatest out of the state auditor's office.
I'm glad to do it. We'll be here anytime you ask.
We'll
Thanks.
see you next week at convention.
That's
Yes,
Yeah.
be there.
And I'll save my question on whether you think Bill Belichick will have a good season this year or
Ooh.
until later.
No, I want to know. No, he has to make the proclamation. now.
Actually, the highest paid state employee, I believe.
Oh, wow.
Well, I would
That
Coach
makes
Belichick is he's the highest paid state employee. I would say better than 6 and 6.
There you go.
How
Hey,
about that?
That's all we can ask for these days.
That means nothing to me.
Oh,
Does that mean 100%?
no, that's good enough for a bowl, though. So, well, thank you so much for joining us. And yeah.
I get it now. Wins, losses.
yeah,
I thought it
better
was
than
some
6
sort
and
of
6.
like very sophisticated.
no
Okay.
wins and losses.
Wins and losses. Well, I hope so. Yeah.
You've been very generous with your time. I think we kept you a little over, but thanks
No.
for all your input.
Glad to be here and glad. Thank you for having me.
Okay, thank you. All right, that was a great interview. I didn't know him very well, even though he is the state auditor, a member of the Council of State, and I should know him. I thought he was very personable.
Yeah, I'm excited that he's coming to convention and that our folks will get to hear from him there, and you guys get to hear from him here.
Look, he's definitely taking the office of state auditor and making it something that more North Carolinians will understand what it is.
Mhm.
I think it's just always kind of been there, and most people just really don't know what it is.
Yeah, and I think our discussion just shows that we can question,
Our elected
politicians,
officials, yeah.
but we can also agree with them at times and
Yeah.
get along with them. So,
Yeah. Well, we all have to work
Yeah,
together.
It's not personal.
yeah.
None of this is ever personal. Like when we ask questions
Yeah.
because we legitimately want to
It's
know
an
or
issue.
we point things out because we legitimately think that's our duty to our members is to make sure people in power hear their concerns and get these things pointed out to them, because there's legions of lobbyists pointing things out for big corporate interests, and state employees have us, so it's our job. And I think that almost everybody that we run across in politics understands that, and they're fine with it as
Generally,
long
are
as
open
it's.
to the conversation. So, yeah.
But I thought he was very open to anything we wanted to ask, and I really appreciate that.
And he said he'd come back. So
Yeah.
that's great because
Yeah.
so many things to
And,
cover.
I was really encouraged by all the talk of technology and using it
Yeah.
in the workplace. And the dashboards were pretty cool. I looked them up after our interview on his website.
Moving with the times.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I did have a kind of a question I wanted to pose to you folks. There was a part where he was saying, we have a lot of vacant positions. I'm just going to summarize, and it probably won't be perfect, but we have vacant positions, say at DMV. What if we paid the people who are there more and were able to do that and infuse technology into the job and, solve the problem? How do you think members would react to something like that?
I think people would be fine with that where it would work. I think there will be situations where if you paid the people who are there enough.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't necessarily need more of them because their aptitude would be more. But there's other situations where you could increase the pay to where you're not having vacancies, but there's not a way technology can readily address it.
Yeah.
And some things are face-to-face, and like driver's license examiners. That is one of the easy ones. There is not a robot yet to get in a car with somebody and tell you if they're going to be a good driver.
Mm-hmm. So just to clean that up a little bit, what I was saying, like he was saying that he could introduce technology to make their work more productive, I guess, right? In the long
Sure. I mean,
yeah.
I think state employees
What technology
does
should
that.
do, but
Right.
yeah, if it,
And like I was saying, it's have and have nots in state government. There are agencies that have really great technology up to, the latest and the greatest. There's others that are dealing with really antiquated stuff. And DMV was one that he covered very well in his audit about how people showed his staff what they're working with. And it was just not anywhere close to modern.
I was also encouraged by how he said he was like, he approached the Auditor 1 positions at his office and asked them how they could do things better. Or, he was willing to work with the state employees in the DMV office.
It's important to hear from the people who do those jobs every day.
Yeah. So hopefully that'll continue. And a great interview. We'll have him back and we'll see him at the convention as well.
Yep.
Now let's move on to the Gen Z moment. What's going on?
Since we were talking about money, finances, budgeting, I figured we could talk a little bit about what Gen Zs are buying and what we like to spend our money on. So I found an article that kind of starts with something shocking to me. So Gen Zs make up about a quarter of the population, as we have previously discussed. And our spending power is likely to reach $12 trillion by 2030.
That's too much.
So as a global digitally native generation, Gen Z is interested in the environment, authenticity, and quality in its shopping habits.
Okay.
So some things that it kind of talks about is...
is that like farmer's market?
One thing is Gen Z is very quality conscious. We prioritizing buying high quality items over those that are on sale or cheaper than the alternative.
Oh, I'm calling shenanigans on that. Wait a minute now.
Not me. I'm always looking for a deal.
Sure
I look at Amazon all the time and will buy the cheapest of what I can find.
Yeah.
But
that's what I'm saying. I think
there are a lot of people in my generation who do prefer to buy simple, basic items that are high quality, especially when it comes to clothes, for example. They want simple, basic items that are high quality.
I don't think
rather than having to buy
I don't
as
think
much.
they feel the need to have a ton of stuff like we did.
Yeah.
They'd rather have a few. I think that is true of y'all.
Yeah.
That's
true.
a good thing.
That's true. I guess I was kind of thinking of the Amazon purchases where you buy the off-brand, all kinds of
That's
things.
me.
But I guess maybe that's our generation doing that.
Amazon Essentials.
Yeah, Amazon Essentials. Yeah. My daughter was taking back to school shopping by her grandma, and she came home with like 2 shirts and a pair of pants. And I'm like, Grandma's taking you out shopping. You need to get more than that.
That's right.
She's just not very materialistic. I guess that you're right.
They're really not.
That's good.
Yay.
And a big thing that it also talks about is with the oldest members of Gen Z approaching the age that we get married, buy a home, and have children, we're less concerned with those landmarks than previous generations.
Yeah.
One of our top aspirations is global and domestic travel.
Yeah.
We want to explore.
Do it.
So I think
you and I had that conversation earlier today.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
think that is
while you may.
Yeah.
Exactly.
As me and Suzanne were talking about earlier, I'm young right now. I don't have kids. It makes it a lot more expensive to travel with kids. And so when I get the opportunities...
And less fun.
Not the same.
When I get the opportunities to go places like Hawaii, which I'm going again, I'm going to take them. And I'm going to make the best out of it. Even if I'm sitting there saying, well, I'm kind of broke right now because I'm doing this big thing. The money comes back. The experiences don't. I think that is a big philosophy in our generation, is that money will come back to me.
Perfect. So they should all join Scenic because that's value.
Yes. Another thing is that Gen Zs are very health conscious and are very prone to choosing health conscious products, such with desirable nutrients, ingredients, or things that are eco-friendly. So when it comes to beauty products, we look at cruelty-free, clean, natural fragrances, which maybe is part of the reason that, as we've talked about previously, Gen Zs are a little bit healthier than previous generations, because we are looking at those all-natural options and those cleaner, organic options.
Well, y'all never drank out of the hose.
I did.
Did you?
I lived in the country. Yeah.
Well, you're one of the only
She's a
ones.
country Z.
I was living in outskirts of Nashville, Tennessee until I was 11. I was outside pretty much all day until Mom said, okay, you
they
can
probably
come in.
have bottled water there. I mean,
Not where I was at.
yeah, because most of your generation, we put a water bottle around your dadgum neck and acted like you could never find any water otherwise.
No, my parents just sent me outside during the summertime, said, spend all day out there. You want some water? Drink from the hose. It's there.
Mom and Dad knew.
A horse's drink from it. It's good enough for you.
Well, you did mention
looked at me.
You did mention the word engagement just a minute ago. Did something happen this week in pop culture that was important?
My favorite people, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, are officially engaged.
I cannot believe we didn't discuss that with Auditor Bullock.
Yeah, we should have brought that up. I mean, so, Dave, what do you think?
I'm sure he had thoughts.
Considering it was asked to the President of the United States, we probably should have.
I mean,
it was funny because J.D. Vance, you could see his face in the video and he's laughing. Like, why is this a question?
I was watching BBC News and it was one of their headline stories.
Yeah.
To Trump's credit, he's not always been the biggest Taylor Swift fan, and he had a classy answer. So yeah, I should have asked instead of asking about the Belichick years at Carolina.
I don't know. That was a valid ask.
Yeah.
Well, I just figured since he's been on the board of trustees, he would have some insight, right?
Exactly.
Taylor and Travis, or is it Travis and Taylor?
Oh, it's Taylor first, always.
I did notice. I did notice
Seriously?
that Mama Kelce, Donna, she was at the Biltmore house the day that the engagement was announced. So maybe she was scoping out a spot for the wedding. Maybe they'll get married at the Biltmore.
That would be cool.
Very cool.
That'd
I bet
be a
that's
beautiful place to get
I bet
married.
that would be so.
Love that.
expensive.
This is my version
have a
of
problem with
the royal wedding.
This is true.
This is my version of the royal wedding. Is Taylor?
Do you think it'll be
Travis?
Do you think it'll be televised?
I don't know. I'd be happy if it was so I could watch it, but also they do like to keep parts of their lives personal and private, so I would also respect that decision if they decided to keep that to a private ceremony for just them.
What if they got married on the 50-yard line at the Super Bowl?
I think that would be iconic. Just throwing that out there, especially
it could be the halftime show.
Especially if the Chiefs were back in the Super Bowl, just him in his Chiefs uniform.
What if they weren't, though? Like, what if there's two other teams playing there? And the Baltimore Ravens were like, what? What is going on?
Have Jason be the officiant.
Well,
that would be great.
Okay, play my song.
John's wacky weird question of the week.
I like the song.
Can I just say that when you're done with the Gen Z minute, you're done with it. Like you don't even
I
say.
thought we were wrapping up.
Well, apparently we were because you're like, play my song.
He's like, all right, my turn.
I was trying to transition from that to this.
I do want to also point out one more thing.
What?
I would have thought that if Taylor Swift ever got engaged, the way all of us would know about that would have been Sam, without question. Like I would have put my life down on that. It was John.
Yeah.
It was.
Fun little fact. I was trying to have a 30 minutes away from my phone while I worked and just trying to work in peace during that time. That's why I was not the first one.
I told you like on the Teams.
Yeah.
And you didn't respond.
Wait, I didn't
so
see it on the
you may have
What?
gotten it somewhere else.
I'm telling you, John was right.
I was on it,
Yeah.
man. I jumped on it.
I got it.
I have found it curious that you have known Taylor information
I think it was
just about as much as she has. Just saying.
Well, I have a
you have a daughter
and a wife, and I had to tell them first, right? So
Well, what's fun is you also weren't the only one who texted me. Both of my friends, my brother's girlfriend texted me and said, "How are we taking the news?" And I was like, I'm ecstatic for them. I was ready to go out and buy a confetti cannon and be like, "Woohoo, go them!" And then
I give it 5 years.
Oh, John.
Oh, my God.
No, I'm terrible. I'm just kidding. I just wanted to say something shocking.
What's our question, John?
No, question of the week. So convention's coming up. What's your favorite part of convention?
Oh, I like at the end of the banquet when our staff, we kind of let our hair down and we dance with the band or the DJ, whichever it is. We just kind of get to let our hair down. We made it through the week, successful convention. It's over, so we can just.
Oh, it's so good whenever it ends.
Yeah.
I mean, not that it's bad, but like it's like just.
Yeah, I mean, it's an exciting week. A lot of stuff happens.
It's busy. It's an extraordinary amount of organization and execution.
It really is
a huge endeavor.
That
So yes, there's tremendous relief.
Yeah,
that it went
never
okay.
Know how much it goes
No,
into
and that's the goal. You never.
Yeah.
That's right.
You never want people to know everything that could have gone wrong or did, and you handled, and try to make it seamless.
That's right.
What about you? Either one of you?
I think one of my favorite things is when I'm crawling around on the floor in front of everyone taking pictures and I can make someone on the stage laugh or giggle. I love it because then I just get some of the best photos and they're super cool.
You have to do a lot to get those pictures.
Yeah.
You put in that work.
Shout out to Junior. He gave me knee pads to crawl around with this year because last year I went home and I had massive bruises all over my knees.
Junior's our political action committee chair.
Junior Hewlin.
Yeah.
Good man.
Yeah, so he gave me some knee pads for this year, so I won't be crawling on
That's
straight
awesome.
floor. Yeah.
For me, it's dancing. It's nighttime. We work so hard. The delegates and the staff work so hard during the day. And at night, we dance.
Yeah.
And I think that's just our thing.
Decompression.
And my favorite part is Artist's report. Thank y'all, everybody, for the. No, my favorite part is either.
It's the best hour and a half.
It used to be the dozen cookies that you could get from room service, but they don't do that anymore. You can't do
those. Those were the days.
I'm sorry, I missed the days when I used to be able to get cookies and milk.
They were so good too,
and it was cheap. It was like $5.99.
Yeah.
Now I want to go to Insomnia Cookies
we
tonight.
need to get that back in our contract. But I think it's it's obvious. Like I have a great time there. I really do, even though it is a lot of work. But the pillows on the bed, I love the pillow.
I just love that I can sleep in either bed. I usually end up in a room with two double beds, and I will collapse onto one when I come in the room, and I'm like, I'm going to take a nap here for 20 minutes, and then I'll be like, okay, well, I'm going to bed now, and I like to be in that bed for sleeping.
Yeah, but the pillows.
I'm going to have to pay attention to the pillows.
I love them, and I tried, my wife Ashley tried to buy me some for Christmas or something, she went to the Sheraton website, the real one, and the pillows, and it wasn't the same.
Not the same.
It just wasn't the same.
Really?
Yeah.
And it is. There's a variety of pillows.
There's so many different sizes.
You can find something that your head feels
The pillows are great.
good
Even
on.
remember the pillow. Okay.
Yeah.
I will say every year my room looks like I'm set up there for a month because I'll bring my weighted blanket. I've got that set on my bed. I have my clothes.
She literally
hung
moves
up.
in for a week.
Yeah. I need it. I can't sleep without my weighted blanket.
Do y'all unpack your suitcases, or do you just live out of your suit?
I unpack things that are typically hung up so that they don't get wrinkly. That's about it.
Yeah, your suits are hung up, but everything else, just live out.
Live out of the suit.
Yeah.
No.
Put it in.
And then I always bring
You put it in the drawer. I started doing that a few years ago, but it just
Mm-hmm.
makes it a little cleaner.
I'm gonna lose stuff.
Yeah.
I'm gonna lose stuff, so I have to maintain.
I'll lose stuff if I take everything out. I swear that I don't know what it was, but I think I lost something last year in that room because I took everything out of my suitcase. Well, clearly it wasn't that important, but I remember coming home and not being able to find something. And it's like, oh, must be in the hotel. Oh, well.
I had an expensive toothbrush and I left there 2 years ago and I got yelled at by my wife. So.
I left my pillow from home. I used to bring my... Don't think I didn't turn around and go right back to Greenville. I sure did. They held it for me. I went back and got it. But yeah.
So next week, we don't know exactly what we will be publishing or when, but we'll be doing something.
We will.
And we'll get something out to you guys to listen to live or not live, but recorded at the convention. So stay tuned and have a great week.